Hello, hello. Nancy Sawyer here, helping you to master midlife. I'm here with Life Coach University for Let's Coach 2023. How's your week been? I hope it's been good. Today, I'm going to talk about negative self-talk. If you've been with me here before, here's what you need to do. If you want to be coached, or if you're bringing something to the table that you'd like coaching on, I am glad to talk to you about that. All you have to do is raise your hand. In the bottom, you'll see an icon for raise hand, and I can bring you up on camera or off, whichever you choose. If you don't want to do that one-on-one, you can just put your comment, your question, your concern, whatever you're dealing with in the Q&A. I'll keep my mind on that. My eye on that for you. And as I'm talking, I can reach out, read those questions and address whatever you're bringing to the table today. I'm glad to be here for you. Let's take a breath so we are fully present in this beautiful space with each other. Thank you. As usual, what I will do is bring to the table something that's been on my mind, and I'll talk through that. And if something comes up for you that you want clarification on, or you want to comment on, whether or not it's on the same topic I'm talking about, that's okay. Just put it in the comments or in the Q&A, and I'll be glad to address it. So today I want to talk about negative self-talk. Do you have those thoughts in your head that say, this will never work, I'm bad at this, I'm a terrible X, Y, or Z, fill in the blank, right? Do you hear those thoughts a lot in your head? A lot of us have a broken record, thoughts on a loop that go through our head all day long, and it's kind of a battle. I don't like to use the word battle because I don't like to envision inside my brain being a battle, but that's what it feels like a lot of the time. For me, it's felt like that lately. And I realized recently that I have been wallowing in some negative thoughts and some negative energy. And I realized I have gotten off of my routine, my healthy morning routine of setting myself up for a great day. It's interesting how all these things are connected and how we sometimes make choices to do good things for ourselves. And then something knocks us off, something knocks us down, something happens. An event happens. For me, it was a couple of deaths in the family, very close together, and I really got knocked off my game and was in a pretty low space, have been in a pretty low space for the past month at least. So what I know is I can sit here every day and continue to have a woe is me story, or I can decide that I'm not going to do that. And I'm going to create a better story for myself. You know, life throws all sorts of things at us. And there's so much we cannot control. What we can control is how we respond to the things that life brings our way. So with the negative self-talk, I have a lot of thoughts in my head. Maybe you have thoughts in your head. I want to talk to you about how to change them. I talk so many times, I hear from people at my Compass Club meetings or in my coaching, people who have these negative thoughts. I should do this. I'm not a good wife. I'm not a good mom. I am terrible at my job. I'll never get the job of my dreams, right? We have these stories. It's really important if you're going to be successful and create a life that you love, to get control of that, to know that you don't have to listen to that voice that's in your head. It is not true. I understand it's all well and good for me to tell you, yeah, just don't listen to that voice. It's much harder in actuality to do that, right? So how do we actually do that? So I'm going to break it down for you. I'm going to break down one way to do it. There are all different ways to do things. You know, life is a grand experiment. I say that often, and you're going to have to try things over and over to see what fits for you. The thing that works for me may not be the same thing that works for you, and that is perfectly okay. There's not one solution to all problems. So if you're having a challenge of some negative thoughts, the very first step is to call it out, to acknowledge it, to listen to it. When you're about to, whatever it is, send out that email or go into work and you have the thought that says, oh, this is going to be a terrible day, or they're not going to say yes to the proposal, right? What are those thoughts that are coming up in your mind? I want you to get yourself a notepad or a little notebook, one of those ones that fit in your pocket, or you could even use your phone, put it in the notes section. And I want you to write down the thoughts that come up as you notice them. As you start paying attention, what we're going to do is we're going to catch them. We're going to start writing them down. Whenever you have a negative thought, oh, this will never work. Oh, why did I do this? This was a dumb idea. Whatever it is, anything that's a negative thought, I want you to take a day and I want you to write them all down. You might have pages of negative thoughts. You might only have one or two. You might be somewhere in between. Wherever you are, that's where we're going to start from. The most important thing is for you to understand that you don't need to believe these thoughts. They are not true. They've been inserted there either by things that happen in your upbringing, by conditioning from society, from your parents, from your friends, from social media. Or they are things that have been, that maybe you had, and that have been reinforced through experiences you've had through life. Maybe you've had a couple of unsuccessful relationships, and now you think, I'll never find the love of my life. I'll never be happy. I would encourage you to reframe that, by the way. Reframing is a big part of happiness and fulfillment and contentment and peace. Speaking of relationships, I was married for 16 years and then I was divorced. I don't call it a failure. I don't call it unsuccessful. We had many great times together. We made many great memories. We have 2 beautiful children, and we are still in a good place, a good space, and we co-parent well together. Big part of, again, our peace is reframing and focusing on the good rather than focusing on the negative. So again, what we're going to do, we're going to write down these negative thoughts. What are the negative thoughts that you are hearing? What are the ones that come up for you? So we want to track it. Once you track it, we're going to read them. Maybe it's the next day, maybe it's the end of the day, maybe you track yourself for a week, and maybe there are a lot of recurring negative thoughts. Those recurring ones, we want to tackle them. We want to address them. So let's just say your negative thought is, it's never going to work out for me. Maybe you're doing something, whether it's romantically, financially, job success. If you're an entrepreneur, you have your own business. Do you have something like, this is never going to work? Let's just pretend that that's what you have. How do we begin to stop that thought from coming up? Once you identify that thought, we want to do a little bit of work. So let's say we're working with the sentence, this will never work out for me. I want you to get clear on what the this is, okay? So if it's, If you're, maybe you're, let me just think of an idea here. An example. If you're starting a new business and you're going through the steps and you're doing all the things and you hear your brain coming up, this is never going to work. This is never going to work. This is never going to work. What we want to do is a couple things. Challenge the thought. We want to challenge that thought and say, why, who is saying this? Where is this thought coming from? And what might come up for you as you think about that, you may identify a couple of times in your past where you tried to do something new and it didn't work out. So your brain seeks evidence to make the thoughts real. So maybe you can identify a few times in your life when things didn't work out. And you're like, oh, well, of course it's not going to work because, when I got out of college and I did that thing, that didn't work, right? And so now you have a limiting belief in your head that you're not able to be successful. Is that what it could be? Once you identify that these are limiting beliefs, and maybe you have it, again, we'll use this, go on with this example. You have a limiting belief perhaps of, I'm not going to be successful in business, starting my own business. Once you identify that, I want you to acknowledge that it's a limiting belief. It is not a true statement. It's just a voice in your head. So how do we combat that? How do we change that limiting belief? We are going to rewrite the story. We're going to rewrite the words. So instead of saying, this is never going to work out, I would invite you to think about some other times in your life when things have worked out. Call it up. Let's identify that limiting belief and then say, I can be successful. I am successful. I have been successful. And here are some examples. I want you to make a list of some successful examples. And I'll tell you what, sometimes people say, I can't think of any. That's okay too. You know what we're going to do with that? We're going to make a goal right now, right here, right now. Something small and something achievable. It could be as small as, I'm going to send one email today. It could be as small as, I'm going to get this financial spreadsheet done. It could be as small as, I am going to go for a 15-minute walk today, whatever it is. We're going to decide and we're going to commit to that. And then we're going to do the action. We're going to take action and complete the task. And the feeling you have after completing the task helps to build that muscle. It builds the confidence. Hey, look, I did it. That's great. Let's look at tomorrow. What can I do tomorrow? Can I walk for 20 minutes? Can I send 3 emails? What are we going to do? If you don't have a track of being successful in whatever this is that you're trying to do, what can you do right now to begin your track of success? What can you commit to? What will you do? A big part of it is commitment, right? We have to commit to ourselves. It takes time to undo this negative self-talk and undo the limiting self-beliefs. We do have to take them one at a time. But what I will tell you is that once you get started on one of them, for example, the I'm not successful, this won't be successful. When we have consistent behaviors, when we have our goals that are based on, what does success mean to you? Are we clear on that? Is that goal chunked down enough so that you can have a daily goal that you can actually reach? Don't ever make the goal to finish your to-do list, because I've never had that happen. The to-do list is so long. If your goal is to have a healthy relationship, what can you do today that's a healthy thing for your relationship? Start now. If you realize your limiting belief says, I'll never be in shape, I'll always be overweight. What can you do to counteract that? What can you do today that will start undoing that, right? Can you choose, can you commit actually to, again, doing 15 minutes of exercise? Because in most cases, in many cases, we know the work we need to do. We know the steps to get where we want to be, but we don't do them. We say we're too busy. And then we have that voice in our head that says, this isn't going to work out anyway. So what I need you to do is commit to yourself. We pick one limiting belief and we work on that. And working on one limiting belief, it might take only a couple of days. It might take a couple of months to really knock that one out of the park and reframe it and say, yes, I can be successful. I will be successful today. We want to set a small enough goal so that you can achieve it. And over time, as you achieve that goal each day, your confidence builds and you start to notice, hey, I am being successful with this. I am showing up healthily for my relationship. I am doing the things that a great mom does by my definition. It's very important with all of these things to clearly define what it means to you, not what society says, not what your parents say, not what social media says. What does success look like for you? As we're going in with these negative self-talk tools, what we want to do is start noticing. So if we're working on that one thought, limiting belief that says, I'm not successful, I won't be successful. Not only do we want to start doing the work to change that, we want to reframe the words. When that thought comes up, this isn't going to work, I'm not going to be successful, we want to actually talk back to that thought. We want to say, I'm not listening to you. Go away. We can say, yes, I will be successful. Whatever works for you to talk back to that voice, go ahead and do it. You can name that voice. You can call it a name of something. You can picture it as a demon or something in your mind, and you can say, go away. I'm not listening to you. Sometimes people use the image of the little angel and the devil on your shoulder. Maybe it's the devil on your shoulder, and you're going to say, no, go away. Not listening to you. You do whatever works for you. You might have to try a few different things. And then you go and take the action. And the more you take the action, the more successful you'll be. So we start to challenge the thoughts, these limiting beliefs. We say, this isn't true. Then the other thing we want to do is start paying attention. When does this limiting belief come up? When do these thoughts arise? Is it when I am about to walk into the house after a busy day? Is it when I open my computer and check my email? Is it when I'm sending out my report to the boss? When does this thought arise, this limiting belief? Oh, I'm never going to be successful. Is it when you're sending out your newsletter? When does it arise? Notice that. Notice the behaviors that are happening. Notice if there is a pattern on when these thoughts arise. Write it down. And notice what is happening in your world when these thoughts arise. And so we're going to shut down this whole system and the whole pattern. We're going to say, when that thought arises, we're going to say, nope, that's not true. Or again, whatever works for you. And then we're going to replace it with a positive thought. I will be successful. I can be successful, and this will be successful. And I'm going to do X right now. I'm going to send that email. I'm going to finish the report. I'm going to go into that meeting and ask the boss for a raise. I am going on that date. I am going to come home and have a great attitude. Be kind and welcoming and loving. What are you going to do to challenge that belief, that negative belief? Sometimes we need an anchor thought that helps us. Sometimes it's good to have I can do this. Maybe it's written on a sticky note. Maybe it's written on a chalkboard. Maybe it's on your bathroom mirror in lipstick, whatever works for you. But have that anchor thought or that reminder to you that you are not these thoughts. You are not this negative self-talk. You can do it. And remember, give yourself a pat on the back. After you've done the things, after you've challenged that voice and you've been successful, give yourself a little nice job. It's okay to celebrate. Acknowledge all that you do. So I'm just going to review. First step, we're going to write down our negative thoughts. Write them down. You got to track them. You got to get them out of your head because they're just on this negative loop, right? So we're going to write them down so that we can knock them out. Write them down. We're going to challenge them. We're going to say, no, this isn't true. What is true? We're going to rewrite. We're going to figure out how to respond to that voice in our head, the way that works for you and that is comfortable for you and that you can do. I know there are lots of tools out there, lots and lots of them. There are so many that I'm sure you can find one for you that works. And if you don't find one, you can make up your own. You are in charge. So we're going to challenge that belief when it comes up. And again, we're going to notice what triggers those thoughts. What is happening? Once we notice patterns in that, for example, every time I go to send out emails for my business, the thought comes up, this is never going to work. So we know that. Once we identify the pattern and when it arises, we're going to reverse engineer. Before we open our computer and get ready to send out emails, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take a pause. We're going to take a breath. We're going to remind ourselves of our why. We're going to remind ourselves of why we want to be successful with this. What is important about our work, our relationship, whatever it is. Take a breath, remind yourself, and then give yourself that anchor thought. I can do this. I'm actually really good at this. I know I can be successful. Breathe those thoughts. Breathe through them. And then we open up our computer and start taking the emails or emailing out the emails, right? We want to prepare ourselves so we're in a great mindset before we do the thing that normally triggers us. So yes, these steps take time. Kicking your negative self-talk to the curb takes time. There is a process to it. And it may take many months to work through limiting beliefs. But the cool thing is, once you know the process, as it happens throughout life, and as you start to notice, Oh, there's another negative thought. Where'd that come from? You can now go through the process and break it down, understand where it came from, understand that it's not true, and then create evidence in opposition to it. I am going to share quickly just my story about running, which I've shared before, and why I run for medals. I run road races, but only ones that give medals. Here's why. It's not for my ego. I mean, maybe it is a little bit, but it's more for my confidence. Because for many years, I was not a runner, and I started running about 10 years ago. And I, for most of my life, had a belief like, I'm not really good at that. I'm not successful. I don't follow through. And every time I train for a race, and then I cross that finish line and I get a medal, that is proof, tangible proof that I have succeeded. And so I display my medals in a rack in my living room from my races. It's not bragging. It's about me seeing that visual reminder of something tangible that I succeeded. And every time I see that, I also remember all the work I did to get there and that I succeeded. So what can you find that's a visual reminder of your successes? What can you do? We want to reinforce the positive, reinforce what is working, reinforce the positive things that are coming up for you. And as we focus more on the positive, the negative tends to go away. It gets less and less. When we say no to that voice in our head, we say, I'm not listening to you anymore. So I invite you to start examining what's coming up in your head. If you have that negative thought loop, start writing it down. Start paying attention. And if you're struggling to figure out how to reframe it, or ideas on how to build your confidence to offset it, reach out to me. I am here. I am at nancybsawyer.com. You can submit a question to Life Coach University as well. Comment after this replay is up. Just send a question to me, or just to Life Coach University. There are many coaches here who can help you. Okay, I'm going to wrap up for today. Thank you for joining me. I hope that you have a wonderful day and that you continue to not listen to those negative thoughts and that you create a life that you absolutely love. I'll see you next time.